Welcome to FBI Retired Case File Review with Jerri Williams. I'm a retired agent on a mission to show you who the FBI is and what the FBI does through my award-winning books, blog, and podcast case reviews with former colleagues. Today is a bonus episode with audio from the 8th Annual G-Man Honors, a Salute to FBI Heroes dinner held on November 18th, 2021 at the beautiful Four Seasons Hotel in Washington, D.C. Now, it was a sold-out event, but no worries. You get to hear all the presenters at this amazing evening, to include FBI Director Christopher Wray and me as the FBI Agents Association's Distinguished Service Honoree. I was the keynote speaker. This year's G-Men Honors event was held in special remembrance of the 20th anniversary of the September 11th, 2001 terrorist attacks. In your podcast app's description of this episode and on my website, jerriwilliams.com. In the episode show notes, there are timestamps identifying each presenter and when their remarks begin. The G-Men Honors event is a fundraiser that benefits the FBI Agents Association's two charitable funds, the Memorial College Fund and the Membership Assistance Fund. Thanks to the support and generosity of sponsors and attendees, this was the most successful dinner to date. You can support the FBI Agents Association's two charitable funds by texting FBIAA to 50155 or by tapping the link to the FBI Agents Association's Ways to Donate page in your podcast app's description of this episode. Donations will directly benefit the families of FBI agents and provide life-changing financial assistance to members. For videos and a gallery of photos from the G-Man Honors event, please check out the link in your podcast app's description to the episode's show notes at jerriwilliams.com. Thank you so much for your support. Now here's the show.
Welcome to the 8th Annual G-Man Honors. My name is Josh Jive. I'm a partner at the law firm of Bracewell, LLP. Along with my colleague Dee Martin and Paul Nathanson, we have the great pleasure of representing the FBI Agents Association. We've done so for several decades. Tonight's a very special night. It's the 8th Annual G-Man Honors, and this one is particularly special because it falls on the 20th anniversary of the 9/11 attacks. And as everyone in this room understands, those attacks changed everything for our country, and they certainly changed everything for the Bureau and every agent in this room. So in keeping with that, there's a couple of things we'd like you to keep in mind tonight. First of all of you will have noticed that at your table, you have a challenge coin. Those of you not part of the Bureau might not understand the importance of the challenge coin. I didn't when I first started representing them. But that challenge coin this year is particularly special because you'll note that it represents the 20th anniversary of 9/11, as well as on the back of that coin, you'll see an agent holding the colors. And that agent represents all of the brothers and sisters that the Bureau has lost since 9/11. And you're going to be hearing a lot about those people tonight. And in a lot of ways, those people and their families are why we are all here tonight. So thank you. Now, on to tonight's program. A special appearance from a really special person in the Bureau. He couldn't be with us here in person, but he'll be showing up right behind me. Former FBI Director Judge William Webster to offer tonight's invocation.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm disappointed not to be with you this evening. My wife of 31 years, Linda, is very protective of her 97-year-old husband and is not allowing me to participate in large gatherings until this COVID thing is behind us. You are my FBI family, and there is no group of people with whom I would rather be. And now permit me to thank our loving God for his many blessings. Heavenly Father, we gather together and from afar to celebrate and support the extraordinary work done by countless and selfless volunteers on behalf of FBI families who have suffered the ultimate loss, death. We pray that they will know you are ever present with them in their difficult journey without a spouse. Father, a brother, a sister, or a treasured child. May they know that neither their Heavenly Father nor their FBI family will desert them. We ask that our agents in dangerous situations will be protected from the evil they are risking their lives to stop. And we ask you to provide their leaders with the wisdom they need to command. We ask your blessings on the men and women who work to create tonight's important events, raising awareness of and funds for the FBI family's needs. They demonstrate that the family has fidelity, bravery, integrity, and heart. We thank you for your many blessings and promise that we will strive to be worthy of your sight. Amen.
And now I have the great pleasure to introduce the FBI Agents Association President, Special Agent Brian O'Hare.
Thank you, Josh. Good evening and welcome. I'm excited to be here. A little nervous, but still excited. Unfortunately, my wife, Rihanna, who is also an agent, is unable to be here because she's in the middle of trial, a 5-week trial. Many in this room know trial days are long and difficult, maybe a little painful. The other day, Rihanna came home, and we each asked each other about our day. I mentioned something about this dinner tonight. Without hesitation, my wife noted that I had not asked her to review my remarks. That was true. But you never, ever burden an agent in the middle of a trial, particularly at home. I've even been cooking, maybe a little cleaning around the house to help out. So I never asked her to look at my draft. Well, I was wrong. As she read my draft, she quickly found a typo. I told her I would not read it incorrectly. She was not amused. She then said my remarks were all serious and I needed an icebreaker. She was correct. Then, without missing a beat, she said I should tell everyone how I messed up my remarks 2 years ago at this same dinner. She thought that was funny, making it the perfect icebreaker. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the mind of a special agent in the middle of trial. So 2 years ago, I had 4 pages of remarks prepared for this same dinner. I was a bit nervous, just like tonight, and I did not notice that my pages had been shuffled. I read page 1, and then page 3. Near the end of page 3, I realized what I had done. Page 2 was a total loss. The page included information about our charities and the thanks to many for helping put the dinner on. I wondered how many people I had lost with my confusing message. But contrary to what my wife thinks today, as sweat was pouring down my face 2 years ago, it was not funny. Now, let's hope that the next 32 pages are all in order. On behalf of our National Executive Board, our over 14,000 special agent members, and our staff, I want to thank each of you for being here tonight for our 8th annual G-Man Honors Dinner. We certainly missed you last year. Many of you supported our 2020 virtual G-Man Honors Dinner, and we thank you. This dinner supports those who have dedicated their adult lives to the service of others. Taking care of our brothers and sisters, those who have served us all, is our great cause. Over the course of tonight's program, we will share our charitable mission made real through our 2 incredible charities, the Memorial College Fund and the Membership Assistance Fund. First, a bit of history. This is a special year for the Agents Association as an organization. This is our 40th anniversary. Special agents more than 40 years ago had a vision of an organization that could take care and serve its members and families in a way that no one else could. Over the years, the association has found success on many important issues affecting special agents, and we continue our advocacy both internally and externally. And not surprisingly, our two charities are a big part of who we are. Also, the 20th remembrance of 9/11. The events of 9/11 took both an immediate and long-term toll on our members and their families. We are blessed to be joined by several special agents who worked on the 9/11 crime scenes and several families who suffered the loss of a family member due to 9/11. In the last several years, I have witnessed the association's work to support our 9/11 families wherever possible, including adding the names of the fallen to the FBI Wall of Honor and to the National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial Wall. I have also been touched by the incredible support 9/11 families have given back to the association. Our charities. The Memorial College Fund covers 75% of all college expenses for the children and, when needed, the spouses of fallen agents. Over the past 36 years, we have awarded more than $9 million in scholarships and have helped more than 260 students achieve their college dreams. Right now, we are planning to provide funds to 90-plus students in upcoming school years. Since we last gathered 2 years ago, we have lost many agents, including Laura Schwarzenberger and Dan Alphen, who were killed in the line of duty in Miami. Others were lost to various illnesses, accidents, and suicides. There was a recent 17-month period where we lost 17 active duty special agents. In response, the FBIAA added 42 children to the Memorial College Fund obligation, a nearly 50% increase on our commitment to the families of fallen agents. The Membership Assistance Fund is our other charitable fund. We have provided $1.6 million to the FBI families in crisis, with more than $300,000 going to 60 FBI families in this past year. Agents or family members in need of specialized medical treatment, temporary housing, natural disaster assistance, and medevacs not covered by insurance are just a few examples of the needs that we can help meet. Within the MAF is the Jeff Drubner Legacy Fund, dedicated to assisting agents shot in the line of duty. I find this staggering. The fund has aided 14 special agents in 2020 and 2021 combined. 14 special agents shot in the line of duty over the past 2 years. The MCF and the MAF embody our absolute commitment to serve those who have chosen to serve others. There are several people I'd like to thank before I sit down. The success of the FBIAA is the result of work done by our National Executive Board, special agents who work full-time protecting our country and who contribute countless hours helping their fellow agents. I would like to recognize our board members individually: Pat McMonigal, Lisa Reiter, Corey Grass, Chris Kelly, Jennifer Marrow, and our Vice President, Natalie Barra. Thank you all. The Memorial College Fund is managed by a board of trustees and a treasurer, all active duty special agents: Renee Weber, Autumn Brown, Leanna Saylor, and Amanda Fritz. Thank you all. Our day-to-day operations and events like this special dinner would not be possible without our FBIAA staff: Gene O'Connor, Tracy Bannon, Chris Edelberg, and Tom O'Connor, who are essential to all of our efforts. It's kind of funny, but I snatched 2 of those folks from the jaws of retirement. It is, and it has been the most brilliant decision I ever made. We are honored to have several family members of fallen agents here with us tonight. Thank you for sharing your time with us. There are more law enforcement and national security business leaders in this room than I have time to name, but I want to recognize a few guests. Tonight's Distinguished Service Award honoree, retired Special Agent Jerri Williams. Jerri is the first special agent to be recognized with this award in our history. It says a lot about who she is. Thank you for joining us, Jerri. FBI Director and Mrs. Wray, thank you for your support, and thank you for sharing this night with us as well. We greatly appreciate your leadership, Director, and thank you for enjoying some of the FBIAA family, Mrs. Wray. Deputy Director Abate, thank you for your decades of membership in the FBIAA and your support throughout. Finally, our success tonight is made possible by the support we receive from so many in this room, including our valued sponsors. Thank you all. I have the great honor to introduce our next speaker, FBI Director Christopher Wray. Director Wray assumed leadership of the Bureau in 2017, and over the past 4 years, the FBIAA has watched Director Wray address a wide range of challenges, many I never imagined. These challenges include FBI operations during a pandemic, a broad movement to defund police, and continuing 9/11 related issues and needs. During the onset of COVID-19 and for so many months after, the director listened to the concerns of agents. He and his leadership team worked diligently to find flexible approaches to ensure special agents were able to fulfill the mission to serve the American people while remaining as safe as possible. Director Wray has also been a voice of reason, speaking clearly to policymakers and others about the risks associated for our law enforcement partners with the threat of the loss of funds. Finally, in the 20th year since the 9/11 attacks, Director Wray has been a solid and consistent supporter of special agents and professional employees who are sick or have passed away from 9/11 related service. Ladies and gentlemen, Director Wray.
Well, thank you, Brian. I can't tell you how happy I am that we're finally all back together in person for this year's G-Man Honors Dinner. This is always a great event, not only because of who it benefits, but because of all the dedicated people here tonight. As a lot of you know, I have to testify up on the Hill quite a bit this year, more than most, it seems. And there certainly are moments when it feels like we're catching criticism from all sides. Though I also sometimes think we must be doing something right if we're not pleasing anybody too much. But when I look around this room and seeing this crowd, I'm reminded of all the support we have from the FBI Agents Association, from FBI alumni, from private industry. I also want to acknowledge the steadfast support the FBI receives from this year's G-Man Distinguished Service Honoree, retired Special Agent Jerri Williams. She is the first agent, as you heard, to receive this award. Jerri spent 26 years of dedicated service to the Bureau working fraud investigations, and she has worked just as tirelessly since retiring. These days, she's the author of 2 crime novels, with another one expected out next year. Her FBI Myths and Misconceptions, a manual for armchair detectives. There are no armchair detectives out there, I assure you. Debunks fallacies about the FBI, and we know how many of those there are out there, in books, TV, and movies. She hosts a true crime podcast called FBI Retired Case File Review. And she even has her own bobblehead. Now, that is something to aspire to. So, Jerri likes to joke that she writes about the FBI to relive her glory days, but she is also doing the FBI a great service. She's a recruiter. She encourages her listeners to apply for FBI jobs, especially agent positions, and especially women and minorities. We all know that we need to reflect the communities we serve, and the FBI needs to continue to get better at that, and that's something that Jerri knew long ago. As some of you know, our recruiting overall has gone through the roof the past 2 years. The number of Americans applying to be special agents at the FBI in 2019 and 2020 tripled the pace from the several years preceding that. It's the highest it's been in about a decade. Now, a lot of people find out about the FBI through word of mouth, through ambassadors like Jerri, and her work is a way for us to meet thousands of potential candidates and to show them that being an FBI agent is a career like no other. So I want to thank Jerri and all of you for your continued support of the FBI and for being here tonight. Now, one particularly special way the FBI Agents Association supports its agents, as you heard, is through the Memorial College Fund. Today, that fund covers the tuition of more than 40 young men and women and 23 children or spouses of agents who passed away due to the 9/11 attacks have or will benefit from the Memorial College Fund. And when I say that, it sometimes seems hard to believe that 9/11 was 20 years ago. Those of us who lived through 9/11 will always remember exactly where we were and what we were doing when the U.S. was attacked. I know I was in DOJ leadership at the time, and I remember the shock and the tragedy like it was yesterday. I spent most of that day and night, and an awful lot of the days and nights that followed, in the Hoover Building in SIOC. For those of you not familiar with the acronym, that's our Strategic Information Operations Center. And I know that an awful lot of you here tonight were in the FBI or in law enforcement at the time and may even have responded to one of the 9/11 sites or somewhere else in the country, assisting in any way you could. But wherever you were that day, you likely have, as I do, a strong personal connection to 9/11 and how it completely changed our lives and our country. This year, I was humbled to be able to pay my respects on September 11th in New York at the Ground Zero Memorial Ceremony, where family and friends, still grieving 20 years later, read aloud the names of nearly 3,000 innocent lives lost that day. Among them were more than 400 first responders, including more than 70 law enforcement officers. And later that day, I spoke to several hundred law enforcement leaders at the International Association of Chiefs of Police conference. Marking that solemn occasion with our partners was comforting. We all lost so much that day, to include the loss of two of our own, Special Agent Lenny Hatton and former Special Agent John O'Neill. They and hundreds more heroic men and women did what first responders always do. They put others before themselves and did whatever it took to rescue people and save lives. But as devastating as that day was, in the years since, we gained so much in the way of partnership and solidarity. Now, we'd always known that partnerships were important in our profession, but after 9/11, we realized they were something we could not do without. And to prevent another 9/11, we knew we had to build even stronger partnerships, work together even more closely, share information even more seamlessly. And we've spent the last 20 years doing just that together. The changes we've made and the hard work we've done over those 2 decades have helped keep our country safe. That terrible day 2 decades ago also created a spirit of unity and shared purpose that brought our nation together on September 12th and in the weeks and months that followed. We were united in our resolve to find those responsible and determined to prevent another attack. A feeling of solidarity that we were all in it together. A feeling, frankly, that we would all benefit from a lot more of these days. So every anniversary and in the days, weeks, and months in between, we resolve once again to never forget the lives we lost on 9/11, never forget the colleagues we've lost to 9/11 related illnesses since then. And let's never forget the incredible sacrifices and support of our fellow police, firefighters, and emergency personnel. Now, while 2021 marks a somber anniversary for the 9/11 attacks, as Brian said, on a more positive note, this year also marks another important anniversary, the 40th anniversary of the FBI Agents Association. 40 years of agents having each other's backs, albeit in a slightly different way. But the idea to form an association of agents for agents actually started years before that. It was a tumultuous time. The struggle for civil rights, anger over the Vietnam War, skepticism about the government and the role of law enforcement in society. And in that highly politicized climate, stop me if that sounds familiar, the media, Department of Justice, and Congress began examining all areas of government, including the FBI. Agents were under scrutiny, but a lot of them lacked the financial means to hire competent counsel. So they formed an ad hoc group called the Special Agents Legal Defense Committee. Pretty poorly financed at first, but that soon changed as agents from across the country rallied in support. Agents back then realized that in order to be represented fairly and to advance the interests of their profession, they needed to join together. And so in 1981, they did just that. And since then, they've fought for things like pay raises, sick leave, relocation benefits, and fought against things like unfair tax burdens. They established member assistance funds to help agents and their family members in the aftermath of natural disasters, accidents, illness, and loss. And when Special Agent Sam Hicks was tragically shot and killed during a search warrant, it was the association that valiantly advocated for what became the Special Agent Samuel Hicks Families of Fallen Heroes Act. And that act allowed federal law enforcement agencies to cover the relocation of families who lose a family member in the line of duty. All of those efforts over the years have further united agents in a common cause, to be there for each other and their families through thick and thin, no matter what. And made them realize that when you band together and speak with one voice, just how loud and powerful that one voice can be. Today, the Agents Association continues to support agents and their families in a whole host of ways. Through their remarkable charities, they provide much-needed financial assistance in times of crises. They offer emotional support for those in our FBI family facing some of their worst nightmares. And they continue to care for those families left behind. Families like the families of Agents Dan Alphin and Lord Schwarzenberger, who we lost in February, and Task Force Officer Greg Ferenczi, who we lost in July. I hear firsthand what the FBI Agents Association and the FBI family mean to the families of those fallen agents. And I have to tell you, there are few things that fill me with as much pride to be a part of this organization as when I'm speaking with those families in the days and the months and the years after a loss, and still consistently hear their heartfelt appreciation for the continued care and devotion of the FBI family. I had the pleasure of spending a bunch of time with the Agents Association over the summer, and it once again drove home to me just how much the people in this group care about each other, about their more than 13,000 brothers and sisters in arms, and about the FBI family as a whole. And that's why I love coming to this event. It supports an incredible group that we know we can turn to when tragedy strikes. And that means the world to all of us. So thank you all for being here tonight. Thank you to the Agents Association and to all of you for your support and your partnership. And again, thank you for helping care for our FBI family, and specifically for our agents who put so much on the line every day to keep all of us safe. Thank you. I think we're only now beginning to really wrap our heads around the long-term effects that occurred to the folks who are folks, first responders, both FBI agents, but also all other first responders who responded to the sites of the Pentagon, the World Trade Center, Shanksville, who worked in those areas. And these are people who, in my view, in the noblest of FBI traditions, put other people's lives, other people's interests in front of their own. And we now know that at enormous expense and sacrifice, in many cases the ultimate sacrifice, that they're paying for that. And so we need to make sure that folks who did that work, who subjected themselves to that kind of long-term effect, can be taken care of. I think we owe it to them as a country to take care of them, given all that they did, take care of the rest of us.
Bob Roth, Wesley Yu, Jerri Job, Rex Stackham, all these guys, Steve Carr, Melissa Marrow. I mean, you just go down the line. And these guys, I think as we got further in time and the issues started becoming more known, they all wanted to see the mission of 9/11 illnesses become something that where we are today, where people realize that it's a real thing, it is a line of duty death.
And I think one of the moments that stands out for us when you ask if Bob realized it, he is an extremely spiritual man, so I have no doubt that he truly knows the impact that the association has had on his family and that his family has had on us. I think one of the best and most emotional moments for us was when we were sitting beside their family at the candlelight vigil for the National Law Enforcement Memorial, and they read the names of the federal agents who had fallen in the line of duty, and they asked the family members to stand. And Kyle, their youngest son, was there with Teresa and the other children, and he looked at her and he said, "Mom, we're not alone." And for us,
brought it all together.
Right.
Pretty cool.
I think most people in America, and even I, having seen the FBI in lots of different ways over my career, they associate the FBI with bravery, with integrity, with professionalism. I don't think they necessarily realize the heart and the degree to which people take care of each other, and that notion of FBI family is a real thing. It's not just some slogan. And that, I think, no place represents that better than the association.
Thank you, Director Wray. Good evening. My name is Jen Marrow, and I'm an agent in the Philadelphia office and I represent the Northeast region on the National Executive Board. Director Wray spoke about family, and that word resonates with me. I'm a second-generation agent as a daughter of retired agent Jerri Coughlin with 27 years of service, and I'm lucky enough to have him here this evening. The G-Man Honors are a chance for all of us to celebrate each other and to join together to help support the FBI family. Tonight you're doing that by supporting the FBIAA and our two charities, the Memorial College Fund and the Member Assistance Fund. These charities make a real difference in the lives of agents and their families. Thank you to all of you for joining us tonight.
I'm happy to introduce the FBI Agents Association Vice President, Special Agent Natalie Barra.
Thank you. Tonight, you're hearing the word family a lot. The word means a lot, and I don't use the word lightly about the FBI or 9/11. Like Jen, I'm the child of an FBI agent. I'm also married to the child of an FBI agent. My father-in-law and my father served together in the New York office many years before the 9/11 attacks, so I know what the words FBI family really mean in the context of New York City and 9/11. Helping respond to the 9/11 attacks was a big part of the reason I joined the FBI, and we should be proud of all the Bureau has done to protect our country from terrorists and criminals. We have saved more lives in the last 20 years than the public will ever know, and we should never forget that our sacrifices have not been in vain. However, the 9/11 fight continues. We have lost 15 special agents to 9/11 illnesses in the last 20 years. 15 of our brothers and sisters. 15 heroes taken from their families too soon. And for every family member we have lost, there are many more who are ill and even more who live in fear of getting life-altering news from their doctors. Tonight is about being there for those we have lost and their families, and for those who are sick or struggling, and about honoring their sacrifices. Tonight is about FBI family, and the FBIAA is what it's all about. Thank you.
I've often said that the most important things we need to stay focused on are the work we do, the people we do the work with, and the people we do the work for. And the concept of FBI family is all about taking care of our people so we can make sure that we get the work done for the people we serve. And that's where the Agents Association is so important, and we're also grateful to them because of all they do to take care of the FBI family so that we're able to kind of advance our mission and be the premier law enforcement and national security agency in the world.
And then I got a call on the radio from one of the supervisors saying, hey, we want your team to come down and work on recovery from the actual crash site itself, the crater. So I was like, absolutely, we'd be honored to do that. It's actually a proud thing. I'm not actually upset. I'm filled with a pride to have been a part of this, to be fortunate enough to serve our country. And regardless of any illnesses that I have, I would do it all over again in a heartbeat. I've been a runner all my life. I've run marathons, a couple marathons, 10 milers, 20 milers. Never the fastest guy, but I could run long. That was kind of my thing. I started having problems back in as early as 02, 03. Didn't even know it. To this day, now I know it was the onset. Andrea Damon, she is the ERT team leader from Pittsburgh. She was the team leader for Flight 93. So in 2018, somewhere around September of 2018, Andrea says, she came to see me. And she says, Reiter, have you got your screening? I said, nah, I hadn't had time. I finally said, all right, Andrea, I'll go get signed up. I don't need it, but I'll go do it. So finally, I was diagnosed in about April of this year with asthma and COPD. And the good news is, right now I don't have cancer. What I don't think every FBI employee understands, whether pre-9/11, post-9/11, part of 9/11, is the length of effort that's been put into this by executives within the FBI. I would do it all again. I would do it all over again. I'd go to Flight 93. I'd go to World Trade Center. But there's one thing I would do over. I wouldn't wait.
You know, you leave a little bit of yourself there. But I think I felt honored. I would hate for any of that to ever happen again. But I felt honored that I could be somebody that would protect the families and friends of those people who were killed that day, and seeing what had actually happened. You know, I was the one that could actually go in there with my coworkers and collect, all of that information in a respectful way and protect them from seeing that. And I felt all over the years, I felt honored to be somebody who was able to do that, and I would do it all over again. The time frame, I'm never sure of. I'd love to say that it's going to be by the end of the year, but I've been saying that for the last 3 years. so I'm just I do see the light at the end of the tunnel now. I don't know exactly when it's going to happen, but I'm certain that it is going to happen, and it's going to happen soon.
Many 9/11 first responders and others who lived and worked near Ground Zero in New York and at the Pentagon at that time have been diagnosed with this cancer. They've passed away from it. They are living with it and fighting it, and many more are going to be diagnosed with it in the years to come. Shortly after diagnosis, I was put in touch with Tom O'Connor, at the time president of the FBI Agents Association, and he provided some unexpected and incredibly appreciated financial assistance from the Agents Association that I hadn't even known was available to me. It kept my family out of debt and our medical bills paid until I could get squared away with the World Trade Center Health Program and the Victim Compensation Fund.
My 3 oldest sisters have already been, fully helped through college thanks to this organization, and my brother is going through it right now. On the very day that my dad was diagnosed, all of you helped my entire family, including my cousins, get through this hard time and all the struggles that come with it. And I'm so incredibly thankful, and I know all my siblings are, that you have helped not only people like me and my mom and my dad get through this, but people like Lauren and the Hughes and many more who might not even be known yet. And I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for everything you do.
FBI Agents Association, thank you so very much for your extremely generous contribution to assist with my ever-mounting hospital bills and expenses. It is so great having the support of the Agents Association. The FBI family has never been more strong or important in my life. Thank you also for your continued love, comfort, and support during this extremely difficult time in my life. I feel stronger and safer with you all standing with me in the fight of my life. God bless and all my love, Melissa Marrow. When I transferred to Kansas City in 2010, Wes was able to schedule a training trip to Kansas City to participate in moot court. Wes wanted to make sure I was okay in adjusting to a new field office in a new city. It was during this trip Wes gave me the most special and meaningful gift I've ever received. He gave me a silver lighter with my initials MSM engraved on it. When Wes gave me the lighter, the first thing he said was that it was not to encourage me to start smoking, but to remind me of something. He said it may seem like an unusual gift, especially for a non-smoker, but he explained the beauty of the shiny silver lighter. Wes was a tactile person and told me the lighter was cool to the touch and fun to play with, flipping the lid back and forth. He told me to hold the lighter, flip the lighter, and remember all of our fun times together. After I got home, I placed the lighter in the top drawer of my bedside table. I often caught glimpses of it whenever I opened the drawer, which never failed to bring a smile to my face. After hearing the devastating news of Wes's passing, I immediately went into my bedroom in search of the lighter, but it was missing. I tore the drawer apart at least 3 to 5 times looking for it, but the lighter was nowhere to be found. I had no explanation for it being missing, other than I must have accidentally misplaced it or thrown it away in one of my cleaning frenzies. My heart ached over Wes's missing gift to me. I am not clear on the exact day, as it feels like I've been living in a time warp, but a few days before I was taken to the ER, I was laying on my bed suffering from a really bad headache. For some reason I do not recall, I leaned over and opened the drawer of my bedside table. Front and center, perfectly placed in my drawer, was the lighter Wes gave me. When I saw it, I felt warmth spread throughout my body and a complete feeling of peace and serenity. I knew Wes found my lighter and placed it where I could see it. It may have been while I was in the ER or after surgery that I told this story to my sister and a dear friend. I was afraid I had hallucinated from finding the gift from Wes, so the first thing I did when I made it home from the hospital was to check my bedside drawer. There was the lighter, right where I remembered. It was then I knew Wes was my guardian angel and that he was going to be with me every step of the way on the long journey ahead. I feel his presence every single day when I start to feel afraid and nervous. He helps calm my nerves and lets me know everything is going to be all right. Wes is still my big brother, looking out for me, protecting me, and making sure I will be safe. Thank you again for your support tonight. You, like Wes, are like protectors and guardians to the children of fallen agents. Through your generosity and compassion, you foster the legacy of their parents and seeing that these children realize their dreams. May God bless you all. Melissa S. Morrow.
Try to win this war, I confess. My hands are weary, I need your rest. Mighty warrior, king of the fight. No matter what I face, you're by my side.
During the most trying times and most difficult crime scenes, Melissa's eagerness to help others on the team was where she really shined. Melissa's smile and laugh could change the mood at any event. Following the 9/11 attacks, Melissa worked with the team sifting through debris at the Pentagon. This work was both physically and mentally challenging. The hours were long and the work was difficult. Through all of this, Melissa continued with an upbeat attitude.
She was an agent's agent, the agent everybody wanted to work with, the agent everyone wanted to be around. And in the wake of the September 11th attacks, she stopped everything she was doing to work 12-hour days, 12-hour shifts, 7 days a week for months on end to investigate the attack at the Pentagon and to recover evidence from the crash site. She fought for justice for those we lost. She fought to bring peace to their families, and she fought to make sure that what happened on that day would never, ever happen again.
Missouri State Highway Patrol, Troop A, to all listening stations, stand by for one broadcast. Troop A to FBI 1108. Troop A to FBI 1108. This is the last call for FBI Special Agent Melissa S. Morrow, Radio 1108. Special Agent Morrow was taken from us on March 22nd, 2018, after developing brain cancer from her work at the Pentagon following the attacks on September 11th. Melissa selflessly served the citizens of the United States for nearly 25 years. Melissa is a true hero. She will be missed by all of those she touched and all who knew her. Troop A to FBI 1108. Troop A to FBI 1108. FBI 1108 has ended her tour. Troop A is clear at 1700.
Good evening. My name is Lisa Reiter, and I'm an agent out of the Mobile Field Office, and I represent the Southeast region for the FBI Agents Association on the National Executive Board. The video you just watched told a few stories, but the sad truth is there are too many stories that need to be told. More than 80 members of our FBI family are still fighting illnesses linked to 9/11. For agents like me, helping our brothers and sisters in the Bureau deal with the financial and emotional stress of long-term illnesses has become part of our job. We all know someone in this fight. Fortunately, these agents and their families are in the fights of their lives, but they are not alone. The FBIAA, with your support, has their backs. The charities you are helping tonight are something different. They are family helping family. I have seen this up close. I have been part of giving membership assistance funds to a colleague of mine needing to travel to MD Anderson for cancer treatments. I know how much your help matters. You may not see it from where you sit, but I want you to know that when we have the opportunity to help people like my colleague that I just spoke to, we are a humble bunch. We don't like to ask for help, and we generally don't. And so when we assist these people who are part of our family, we generally just, we hand them an envelope with a check and we tell them, that this is to help them out. And the last time I had the opportunity to do this was just about a month or two ago. And I was sitting in my office and my colleague came into my office. And when you see these people and you see the impact that you being here and you supporting us and our funds, it is phenomenal. People are speechless and they are beyond thankful and they don't really know how to express the support that they get from us, and we could not do this without you. So I just really want you to know that I understand where you said, it feels good to give, but I want you to know that what you do in supporting us gives us as members the opportunity to firsthand look into these people's eyes and say, we are here and we are doing this because you are our family and we love you. So thank you very much for your support tonight. Now I would like to ask FBIAA President Brian O'Hare to join us again as we recognize this year's Distinguished Service Award recipient.
Thank you, Lisa. Each year, as a part of the G-Man Honors, the FBIAA presents the Distinguished Service Award to an outstanding individual. We have honored notable figures from national security, military, and diplomatic worlds. When I called Jerri to mention all of this, she said something to the effect, how would I fit into this group? I told her, you better get used to it. You're already there. Tonight, we have another to honor for her leadership, Jerri Williams. Jerri Williams joined the FBI in 1982 and served as a special agent for 26 years. Jerri's service continued in her post-bureau life. She is telling the real stories with real cases and real FBI agents. This is always better than the fiction that you can find elsewhere. We need to tell our stories because while those of us inside the FBI family know about the complexity of our cases, the sacrifices that agents make, and the challenges that we face in the field and at home, too many people outside the FBI family do not know the real story. Jerri Williams saw the need and is helping to serve every agent. Jerri has authored multiple books, as the director mentioned, about our work in the FBI. And she founded FBI Retired Case File Review, a very successful true crime podcast, where she interviews retired special agents about their cases and careers. Transparency is something you hear a lot about right now, and that is what Jerri is providing. She has recorded over 240 episodes, and her FBI stories have been downloaded more than 5 million times. Her audience and her impact are only growing. Jerri is helping agents by giving the public the opportunity to understand who we are and what we do. Her work is important, and she is appreciated. It is now my honor to introduce this year's Distinguished Service Award recipient, Jerri Williams.
Glad that Brian told that story about his pages being shuffled around. I made sure I just sat down at the table and numbered mine. This has been an amazing evening, especially the videos that we just watched, where we heard the unbelievable stories of bravery and persistence of FBI agents and their family members, despite them dealing with tragedy, grief, and uncertainty. Before tonight, we didn't know those agents, but they shared their stories with us. We listened to their testimonials, and as they explained how they had overcome adversity with the FBI Agents Association's support, both financial and emotional, our eyes filled with tears, I know mine did, and our hearts filled with love. And they were no longer strangers to us.
Why? Because they shared their stories. And because they made sure we heard their stories, they and their loved ones will never be forgotten. Tonight is a special remembrance of the 20th anniversary of the September 11th, 2001 terrorist attacks. Now, we can read a chapter in a history book or an article in a news report, but there is no comparison to hearing from those who were there and experienced it. In December, the nation remembers another important date, the 80th anniversary of the attack on Pearl Harbor. Now, most of us in the room weren't alive on December 7th, 1941. But when I said Pearl Harbor, did you visualize the planes flying around in the air? And did you hear the sirens and alarms going off? The reason why is because those brave soldiers shared their stories with us, and their memories became our memories. The room is full of investigators here, so I bet you're picking up on the fact that my keynote speech is all about sharing our stories. I consider myself to be a storyteller and a story collector. I invite my former colleagues to share their stories on my podcast because stories serve several significant purposes. One, they memorialize each of our own personal legacies. Two, they preserve institutional knowledge. And three, they contribute to the public's positive perception of the FBI. To make my point, I'm going to share a few stories. Of course I am. That's what I do. When my Aunt Lorraine died several years ago at the age of 84, my sisters and I went to her house to help my father go through her belongings. Her own children had passed away several years before she died. We were asked to decide what items of hers to give away and what items of hers to throw away. As we went through everything, we wondered out loud where and when she got a particular piece of memorabilia, or where she wore a particular piece of clothing, or a photo she had taken, who were the people that were with her. But she wasn't there to tell us the story behind her stuff. We ended up tossing most of it out. It was a sad and depressing experience. But we didn't know her story. And stories are what allow us to connect with others, even when they're no longer with us. Author Sue Monk-Kidd said, "Stories have to be told or they die. And when they die, we can't remember who we are or why we're here." Well, I wanted to make sure I didn't experience what happened with my Aunt Lorraine again, and I recorded one of the stories that matters most to me, my father's. For nearly 3 hours, he took me on a journey from his childhood to his retirement from a career in the military, a journey I thought I knew. My father, Buford Maynard Williams, grew up in Goode and Newport News, Virginia. He was so poor that during the winter, his mother would send him out in the early morning to walk along the train tracks to pick up pieces of coal that had fallen off of freight trains that traveled through the town overnight. When he turned 17, he joined the Air Force. And 21 years later, he retired as a master sergeant, having traveled to bases all over the world, dragging me and my sisters and my mother with him. Now, all of that I knew before we started recording, but here's what I didn't know. I didn't know that he joined the military because he envied the soldiers coming home on leave who had new shoes. He wanted new shoes too. I didn't know that he joined the Air Force because the Air Force was allowing African Americans to apply to jobs other than just infantry and being cooks in the mess hall. I didn't know that as a material facilities supervisor, he played major roles in dismantling top secret bases in Casablanca, Morocco, and also in prepping for the Cuban Missile Crisis at another top secret base in Massachusetts. I didn't know that while moonlighting as the manager of the Officers Club in Liverpool, England, he auditioned and then rejected a not yet famous boy band called the Beatles. And there was so much more that I learned from my now 86-year-old father during our conversation. Sadly, I wish I'd had a similar opportunity to record my mother's story before she died of breast cancer in 1989. Now, what about you? As FBI agents and former military and security personnel, we all have plenty of stories to tell. Have you started to curate your own collection of stories to memorialize your legacy for your loved ones and future generations? I'm sure there are folks here today that their own families have no idea what they've done during their career. Now, you don't have to record a podcast episode or write a book. A purposeful conversation with your loved ones works too. I understand that it can be difficult to see your life as a story when you are in the middle of living it, but we all have stories that need to be told. A second reason to share your story is to preserve institutional knowledge. There are so many important moments in the FBI's history that need to be told, that need to be recorded. I'm thrilled to hear that besides fans of true crime, so many agents and investigators from other law enforcement agencies are listening to the podcast too. Nothing validates my mission more than hearing from a supervisor who lets me know that he has the new agents on his squad listening to the podcast every day. He says that, and the person was Tom O'Connor, but he told me that the podcast helps to reinforce investigative techniques and interviewing skills, and for them to learn new techniques that weren't taught at Quantico. I'm proud of the episodes that I've done with Wayne Davis, one of the first African-American agents allowed to attend the FBI Academy, Angelo Lano, the case agent of the Watergate break-in investigation, Tom Baker, the first FBI agent on the scene of the attempted assassination of President Reagan, and Ed Morales, the legendary hero of the tragic Miami shootout, to name a few. But there are nearly 250 more master class level case reviews with veteran agents on my podcast. And I hadn't planned to do this, but if you've been on the podcast, could you please stand? The podcast is those agents' words, uninterrupted by editorial comments, ads, or commercials. And I thank each and every one of my podcast guests for letting me share their FBI stories. In the Bureau, when promoting investigative successes, the names of the investigators are left out of the press release, even though while conducting these investigations, the agents devoted their lives to this work. They neglected their marriages and their mental health and spent time away from their kids that they'll never get back. A press release doesn't acknowledge the sacrifices made by those FBI employees and their families. As investigators, we can do a much better job of telling our story than a sanitized narrative announced by the head of the field office. And I know because as the media rep, I wrote some of those press releases. During current times, this type of transparent look at the FBI is more needed than ever. Don't you agree? Now, the third reason to share your story is to contribute to the positive public perception of the FBI. This was my initial motivator to start the podcast, but it became my primary mission in the fall of 2016 when the FBI's integrity was being questioned. Most people have never met an FBI agent in person. What they know about the FBI comes from the news, and even more so, popular culture. Their only connections with the FBI being those made by reading a book or watching a TV show or movie. So why should we care if the public gets their knowledge about the FBI from entertainment media? Well, creating an accurate portrayal of an FBI investigation is almost impossible when the case has to be solved in an hour or two. Fortunately, the true life stories of my podcast guests satisfy the public's curiosity by allowing them to experience what it's like to hunt down a spy in an espionage case, or comb through a cabinet of incriminating documents during a corruption investigation, or sit on a wire, or conduct a surveillance to gather evidence of drug trafficking or of organized crime. Comments and reviews let me know that listeners appreciate the work that we do and the opportunity to be a fly on the wall to history, to eavesdrop on the FBI. One last thing before I wrap up. We began this evening acknowledging the 20th anniversary of the 9/11 attacks. Well, I would like to conclude my keynote by acknowledging 3 FBI anniversaries taking place next year in 2022. In the summer, we'll celebrate the 60th anniversary of the first fully qualified African American special agents hired after a 40-year hiatus and finally allowed to attend the FBI Academy. In July of 2022, we celebrate the 50th anniversary of the first female agents hired and allowed to attend the FBI Academy. And on September 13 of 2022, I'll celebrate my 40th anniversary. As a Black woman, I find the fact that these milestone anniversaries all landing in 2022 is quite serendipitous. Don't you agree? That's why receiving at this time the FBI Agents Association's Distinguished Service Award means so much to me. Today, women represent only 20% and Black women only 1% of the FBI special agent ranks. I thought this event would be a recruiting opportunity. So I want to introduce 3 of my closest friends who are here to support me tonight. By the way, I gave my husband a break. He's my biggest supporter, but he is a little sick of hearing about the FBI. So in his place, I'd like to introduce, and please stand up, Special Agent retired Carol Phillips Sidnor. Carol. I have known Carol for 46 years. She was my roommate in college, and we pledged the sorority Delta Sigma Theta together. The next person that I'd like to acknowledge is Special Agent Jackie Dalrymple. Jackie, where are you? I have known Jackie for 41 years. We were roommates, and then we worked together as juvenile probation officers in Newport News, Virginia. I came in first. I recruited Carol, then I recruited Jackie. The next person I want to introduce is Jenna Davis. Jenna. Special Agent retired Jenna Davis. Now, I have known Jenna for 33 years. I recruited her too when I was the applicant coordinator in the Philadelphia division, and she was a recruit. Now, if you're impressed with my FBI accomplishments, then let me tell you, my BFFs have even more impressive bureau careers, and you need to hear their story too. Jen has been on the podcast. I'm still working on Carol and Jackie. By the way, the four of us are always in recruitment mode, encouraging more women and more minorities to apply to the FBI. Thank you to the FBI Agents Association for this unexpected and so appreciated validation of my creative work. It has been an honor and a pleasure in retirement to continue to promote and to protect the FBI's hard-earned reputation by telling and collecting FBI stories. Now go share yours.
And that's the end of the event. Thank you so much for listening to the very end. And remember, the G-Man Honors event is a fundraiser benefiting the FBI Agents Association's two charitable funds, the Memorial College Fund and the Membership Assistance Fund. You can donate by texting FBIAA to 50155 or tapping the link to the FBI Agents Association's Ways to Donate page in your podcast app's description of this episode. Thank you.